What's up, guys? Mystery Motors again. We have a blower today. 'Tis the season. Starting to get a little cold. Leaves are surely gonna be falling. And this is a blower. It's a Stihl. It's a bg55, I believe. I bought this thing used like maybe 5 years ago, around 2020. Got it for like 55 bucks. I don't think I've ever done anything to it. I do remember when I got it, the gentleman mentioned that he had replaced the primer, so the primer bulb, which it's still, I'd say, still has some life left, still pretty fresh, but it sometimes is kind of hard to start. So we're gonna pull the carb off. We're gonna give it a good cleaning and keep it cheap. We don't have any replacement parts or gaskets or anything like that, so we're just gonna take it easy, try and get this carb cleaned up, and hopefully starting much easier than it is now. So right now what it's doing, it will start, you choke it, typically fires, and then you flip it over, into run, give it a pull, and it typically starts up. But I've been noticing as of late, when it does start up on, the run setting, you give it a little gas, it just doesn't, it just kind of dies out. So try that over and over again until it finally starts to run. I think today we're actually gonna, get to the root of the problem, get this carb cleaned up, so that, we have some easy starts, easy usage for the fall months ahead of us. So we'll set this up and pull that air cover off. See if we can showcase what it does. So turn that on, typically give it, enough primes to start getting fuel in there, which that's the thing. I think maybe we're just too clogged up because fuel doesn't really want to come through that bulb. There, yeah, 1, 2, and then this one, it will run, but we'll see if it dies. Okay, so yeah. Yep, that's exactly what it's doing. And I could keep messing around with that and probably get it to switch over to the high revs and get the job done. But we'll pull this off and see if we can't get it cleaned up and actually firing great. These Stihl units are pretty, I like them. I got a few Stihl pieces. But for 55 bucks, picking it up a half a decade ago, I would say we're doing pretty good. Yeah, so all this super dirty. I don't know if that's due to maybe something's leaking. It seems like something's leaking, getting some oil on the carb and everything else sticking to the oil. Kind of a mess here. We've got our two, looks like those are 8 mils there. And this should allow us to pull off our cover. There we go. Cool. We got a carb. Looks like it's free. So from here, it's like these studs just allow it to slide off. We've got our gasket here. Ooh, okay. So these are actually, I was thinking that there was maybe, your classic style, small engine fuel line, but it is Stihl lines. There's, steel lines. So with this, pull that out, which is interesting. And this on the other side. Come on. That other one's on there pretty good. Might be able to pull this off now. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. Okay. I fear the worst. So it looks like we might need to actually remove, yeah, so this piece here, it looks like it's the kind of outer piece, inside piece rather, of this handle, and that should let us get to the throttle linkages there, and I think that's what's keeping us on. So it looks like we've got a couple of Torx, you know, star bits. Find something to pull that off. That's pretty heavy screws. This looks like 4 screws, and hopefully our cover will pop free. And now that I'm saying that, I realize our recoil has to come off. So that's what it's all about here, Mystery Motors, you know? It's all a mystery till we figure it out, guys. Like we got another, I think 3 Torx screws holding this on here. And these are different, so don't mix those up. Self-explanatory, guys. A lot of it is just a whole bunch of taking it apart and putting it back together. Yeah, this one down here is good and lubed up, coated in oil and fuel. All right, those are all the same size. Our recoil should give it up. And there we have it. A little dusty, dirty. I'd assume this unit's probably at least 10 years old now. But yeah, looks pretty good. A little bit of dirt, grease on the little mini jug. Look at that little teeny little thing. Imagine that little piston in there is probably like yay big. That's so fun. Interesting. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. If you've never seen the side of your blower, you got your little exhaust, you know, your cylinder, jug, pistons in there, little flywheel. Look at that little, oh, that flywheel nut. That's so fun. Like a little 13. Okay. Let's see here. See if we can relinquish our piece. And you know what? Oh, duh. That's the whole reason we took that recoil off, right? And what's funny is I think we might have to, nope, never mind. There we go. Okay. So when you put this back on, guys, it looks like we have a ground. Let me see. Yeah, so we have a ground wire that I think fits right over here. And there it is. So yeah, this is your ground for your kill switch. So yeah, you're going to want that right there, and that little dowel will seat in and ground it out, and so on and so forth. But for what we need, this is exactly what we need, because this allows the linkage for the throttle to come free. And yeah, we got to fish it out of the top of the carb and then get that carb off. All right, guys, get this linkage through. Or actually, just take the whole thing, you know. The easier thing to do at this point. There we go. Alright. going back on this way. Your kind of open port is the intake side. Again, probably pretty self-explanatory, but got our gasket here. And that, to be honest, still looks pretty good. And then let's pop off the carb. I don't like how that is tight on there. Let's see if we can get this turning. There we go. We're working. We got her. All right. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, I think maybe we've got a little bit of a part failure here. Which that could be why it's kind of been hard to prime. If there was, if this joint had failed and this kind of pulls I assume pulls the fuel up and then sends it into the carb from that primer, because let me see. Yep. So these typically are on your carb, and it looks like this one decided to come free. So, you know how we do it. For the sake of keeping it cost-free, we're going to just try and run that. So we'll keep taking this apart because this does kind of seat back down in there fairly snug. I think we'll push it back down in as best we can. Yeah, and then we'll take this apart, clean it up, put it back together. If it leaks, I mean, no biggie. We can get that, but this is the Stihl branded Zama carb. Big fun. Yeah, let's get it taken down. All right, little carb. Most of these are just going to be, Phillips heads. And if you're unfamiliar with the super small carbs like these, they essentially work off of a diaphragm. So under this cover, this little black piece here is like a little diaphragm that will ebb and flow, if you will. And that's essentially, how it pumps and allows fuel to come into the system. So obviously, no float bowl or anything like that on this. That's what we've got. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering, because there's a diaphragm there as well. Might be on this side that I'm thinking of it, because that looks like the one. So this is, we want to be as gentle as possible trying to peel that off. Which, again, this is a older carb, which it does kind of separating pretty good. Typically these, they'll kind of get stuck, to the metal surface and delaminate and peel. These are, when they're put together, I think they're kind of like layered, layered material. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the little diaphragm. So as you can see here, it does kind of function, I guess, similar. So this is essentially your bowl, if you will, and you have your little needle there. And if you can see, that needle matches up essentially with the center of this diaphragm. So as you can imagine, as this diaphragm, moves back and forth, kind of pops out. I don't know if we can show that, but it'll pop back and forth, and that motion will engage and disengage the fuel, which, lets fuel in your carb. So very cool. Set your diaphragm to the side, your diaphragm gasket to the side. I wouldn't really say there's any need to spray that down with any sort of chemicals. You know, as long as it came together or came apart in one piece, should be good. Now looking at it here, we have a very small, looks like a number 3 jet there. Probably the smallest jet, you know, you're ever gonna encounter. And then you have a Phillips head, which holds in your little rod, your little needle, and essentially what is your float, you know, on this style carb. So we'll go ahead and remove our needle, get this cleaned up, and it looks like actually underneath that needle is another little jet. And when you take this out, you know, you have your Phillips, and all that really does is just holds a little tension on the rod there. But up underneath, as you can tell, is a very small spring. So when you pull this out, be cognizant of your spring, because it's all separate pieces. So you have your tiny spring, which looks very great, pretty good. And then you have your tiny little, look at this, guys. That is is that not the cutest little needle you've ever seen? Oh my gosh, the little baby needle. So sweet. All right, put our needle back down there. Okay, so in doing that, that's what we've got. It looks like maybe, I think that is, yeah, right in the center there. This is another little, looks like a little jet, and right in the middle there's a little passage. So I would assume the issues we're having is that's such a small passage, like a hair-sized passage. You know, that's clogged up a little bit, or this number 3. So let's start by taking out that number 3. God, man, that's so teeny. Cool to see. Hopefully we can get this. There we go. We just broke free. Yeah, you want to be careful on these, because unless you're using a brass screwdriver, which I doubt you are, you know, the steel can very easily mangle up your brass jets, as we've seen in, you know, some previous videos, but we won't mention that again. So this is ridiculous. We can actually kind of see through that. I don't even know, man. I can hardly see it through these fat fingers of mine. I don't think oh, there it is. Look at that. That's perfect. So that one looks pretty clear. But as you know, where's my brake clean? Little jet, little brake clean. Get goggles on, a little PPE. Give her a little spray. Good there. I'm gonna find a little. Let's see. Here we go. So with this, we're gonna hit it with a little bit of a flick and just send it across the driveway and never see it again. No. Here we go. We've got our brass bristle brush, and we're going to give it some of that agitation. Man, I don't even think you could fit 2 bristles in this hole here. See if we can find a single bristle. Single bristle down the tube. There we go. And we'll do this. We'll hit it with a little compressed air, and I think this one will be good to go. This one does, I mean, this looks pretty clear to me. I think maybe it's the, that other jet, which is, looks like it's pressed into the carb. It's probably the issue, but that looks good. I mean, spray it off again. And then hit it with the air. That's got to be good. We'll set it to the side, and we'll keep going on this one here. So, next up is, well, let's get the other side of the carb taken off, and then we'll thoroughly spray this thing down, get it cleaned up. So we're good here. Very nice. Yeah, and this is something, with it being a Stihl product, you know, there's actually still some Stihl dealers, obviously, because, you know, they're still in business, but you can always pop into your local dealer, and, you know, they should be able to set you up with, you know, OEM parts, you know, OEM part repair kits, you know, so on and so forth. But yeah. So when you take the other side off, if I remember correctly, there's going to be a very thin, almost plastic film piece, and that will kind of cover. It goes in between this rubber gasket on the back side. And again, I think this is a kind of a diaphragm design. If you can see, those are kind of, you know, kind of buckled in. It's so thin. I think they're meant to come back and forth, and I guess pulsate, you know, would kind of be the best way to describe it. But you know, like a little two-stroke beating heart almost. You know, just pumping fuel through here as it needs it, at the rate that it needs it. You know, super interesting designs. Okay, I think we might be getting a little stuck up here. Let's see if we can't help this off. Ooh, it does look a little stuck right there. There we go. She's popped. She's popped. All right, that looks pretty damn good too. Nice. I mean, I feel like typically the you know, the main gasket material is always pretty clapped. So I think we are looking very fine so far. This is our idle screw. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to leave that as is. Get this sprayed off real quick. Very good. Some blows. Looks like we actually have one little passage here that kind of redirects some fuel in some way. There you go, guys. It's OEM fresh right there. I'll tell you what. Just to really make it OEM fresh, give it that little scrub around the, you know, while we're in here, you got to make it look good. Make it look good, more so just cleaning it up for longevity, you know, because why would you fix something proper and put it back dirty? It's beyond me. Let's see if that's some build-up or something. Just get that little agitation there. All right, let's get this cleaned up here. Very good. Alright, so with this, you know, now that we're all torn apart, get that air right up on that jet, blow that out, and we'll just go over all the orifices here. Hit them with a little pressure, and I'm tempted, you know, because that definitely is a little bit of a jet there. Let's see if we can get a little single strand action down there. Oh, there it is. And then, let's see, come on, there we go. Let's work it around a little bit. man, I mean, it looks pretty dang good. You know, and that's the thing. This is really as far down as we can take this carb. We have our air fuel screws up here. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. One of these is for the low idle. One of these is for the high idle, or the running speed. So we'll do one at a time, and we'll just set it back to what it was. All right, so we'll try. Let's see where this is at. Like 1.5, maybe 1.25. Okay. So we'll back this totally out, keeping in mind that we are about a 1.25 turn out. There we go. Give that a little spritz. Wipe that down. Get these threads clear. Very nice. And then we'll shoot it down. Oh yeah. So that looks like it goes to this little port. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. I'm sure you saw that. So with this, just blow that out. We'll feed our screw back in. Take it all the way down and back it out about 1.5 to 1.25. And then we'll do the other one. All right, we're in. Let's see, so we have 1. We'll do 1.25 there. I think that's good. Is that loose, or is that just like a cover? That's interesting. What is this? I wonder if this is meant to come out or not. Let's see. It's 1/2, so I don't think it is meant to come out. But I don't know. I feel like that. Does this piece come off? I feel like that cap might come off. But I'm not sure. Huh. Who knows? That's interesting. It was about a 1/2 turn out. So let's go. We're gonna go around, spritz this one more time, and then we're gonna toss it back together. Give it a little air. You hear that whistle? That's a good sound. Awesome. All right. I think we're looking good. Let's toss this back together. So we'll start on this side. We've got our diaphragm again. Well, one of them, our film side, which is the Zama side. And with this, it's only going to go on one way, so line that up about there. And then, let me see. I think this is what I'm looking at. I've got it backwards. There we go. So yeah, press your gasket on your outer piece, and we should be lining up. No, we're not lining up. Or not. Ah, there we go, guys. One way. We're lined up. Looks good. I'll slap this on here. Yeah, and this, so there's those little dowels on this outer piece. Just pull back your throttle linkage, and that should sit flush. And then that is just one big screw in the middle. We'll get this screw cleaned up. All right, guys, screw's clean. Let's line this back up again. Right there. Pop our screw down in there. Let's cinch her down. I'm hoping we don't have just crazy fuel leak out of that that other side. Give that little crank down there. All right, let's put together our bowl side, if you will. So let's go ahead and start with our teeny jet. There we go. Yeah, man. You can just tell how soft that brass is. Okay, so we have our needle. Drop that needle down in there. And then with this, your needle has a little kind of a T-head there, and you're going to put that fork down in there. But before we do that, I think we're going to set our spring in. And this part can be kind of tedious. I believe there's a little nipple on the underside of this rocker arm, and that nipple is going to go right in the middle of your. Let's do this. We need the dexterity. We're going to bring that back up. We are going to drop our needle back down, and then let's see here. Yeah, the tricky part is getting it all to line up and sit flush. So you can see there, that little ball kind of nipple there, you want that to seat over your spring. All the while you have your needle kind of forked there. Okay, I think we've got her. Drop in our little screw, and let's get to threading. It is kind of at an angle. Come on, get on there. All right, there we go, guys. Cinching that back on. And like I said before, all this does is just hold that little bar down, so it doesn't go flying everywhere. So right there, we are looking good. You can see the little movement of the needle there. Super nice. Got our jet in. Let's pop this diaphragm back on. And if you were paying attention, diaphragm goes, metal side down, kind of like I said, links up right there with the middle piece of the of that rocker arm. So, okay, and then very, very last thing. Grab all of our screws here. And this is the last piece of the puzzle that we haven't messed with. So this is the primer section. This plastic piece, and it looks like it says China. Maybe he did replace this with a third-party piece, just because I'd kind of be surprised that a OEM Stihl, that this would just come out of the plastic. It doesn't really make sense to me. But let's just go ahead and spray out these little holes here. Oh, that's nice. Do that one. Do both sides. Hit it with the air. I don't know if that is an adhesive or buildup. That's kind of strange. Kind of looks like maybe adhesive, which, you know, it's not great if that's pumping that through the carb. But could be wrong. I think these little covers are just glued on. Could be wrong. Probably am. But cool. I think we're clean. We'll clean up the bulb, get this put back on. Like so. Then we have our 4 screws that hold not only the primer, but that whole opposite side on. We'll do one of these. Get my Phillips handy again. And then with this, and we're going to come out the bottom. Yeah, I always recommend, using OEM parts where you can. I know it can be kind of tough, especially with a lot of brands. They're kind of just rebranded, Chinese stuff. But with brands like Stihl and Honda, generally they'll have parts dealers that you can go up to and order OEM parts. Like I said, full carbs or possibly rebuild kits if they sell them. I know I did this with I've got a combi, one of the swappable attachment steel trimmers, and I went in, I think they sold a carb kit, and then I think the carb itself was maybe just like $5 more, so I was like, we'll just do the new carb. But I did have to actually swap out my throttle linkage, like out of the carb. So, maybe it would have been easier just doing the rebuild kit on that, but this is what we've got. Let's toss it back on. All right, guys, we got our linkage on. Very nice. Opens, closes. We're going to put our handle back on. Yeah, we can do that right now, because the recoil is the one that goes over everything. So if you're taking this off, first things first, remove that recoil. I was going to say, I could check the spark arrestor. I assume this has one. Generally those, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a little screen that covers the exit of the exhaust. On the 2 strokes, it just, I think, helps with any sort of like backfiring, sparks coming out, because, 2 strokes are generally used for a lot of maintenance and servicing, parks and so on and so forth. So you don't want to be out servicing a national forest and flames and sparks shooting out of your saw, right? There we go. We are cinched down. Nice. Let's get the recoil cover put back on. Actually, before we do that, let me try to clean off the fins here. Yeah, because if you didn't know, the fins on your cylinder is essentially how that cylinder is cooled. So let's see. Hit it with a little brake clean, a little compressed air. Cool. Definitely knocked off some gunk there. All right, we'll reconnect our plug, and then we'll put our recoil back on. You know, wiping this out, cleaning this out, just 'cause, you know. We want it to run good and look good. That's mint. Couldn't get any better, guys. And then this should fit over like so. And that is, let's see, that's pretty good. Make sure we're not pinching up any wires here. Cool. And again, you've got 3. Pretty much just go all the way around the, the recoil itself. Pulls it to that flywheel. Oh no. Oh no. Rookie mistake here. Yeah, I had my camera died on me right before putting this car back on, and I totally forgot our gasket. So let's pull this back apart and we'll, little movie magic. There. All right. Put our carb back on. Put our fuel line on there. Alright. Maybe part of the course, but it seems like this recoil doesn't want to go on perfect. So we'll see. I can't really see anything that we're getting caught up on. Yeah, I mean, yeah, these small engines can give you some problems when it comes to just getting things back together perfectly, because the tolerances are just so small. The pieces are just so small. They really fit tight together. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, we are hooked back up. We're going to reinstall our, let me see here, reinstall our little airbox cover and see how we did. Hopefully we nailed it. Hopefully it still runs. That's the biggest thing, right? So looking at this, probably easier to look on the back side of the, actually, so if you can see, you look on your gasket if you're ever kind of wondering which way it goes. There's generally little holes and guides that will have, kind of embedded themselves in the gasket material. So just kind of go by that, put that back on there. I'm going to clean this up because this is absolutely filthy. All right. We'll blow this out. We're looking pretty clean now. Well, that's kind of neat. So, just how this mechanism works, instead of actually like closing like a barn door, it's kind of open to the side. If you see how that works, so it's got this little hand that kind of cups over and seals it shut. And it's pretty fun. Always neat to see kind of the engineering behind how things are designed. All right, get these cinched down here, just about as tight as they can go. I mean, not, you don't want to go crazy with them, but you want them to be pretty snug. So, all right, guys, for all intents and purposes, I think we are finished. You can see you can kind of see a very small amount of fuel. Let's see what happens. Oh, wow. We've got fuel coming to that carb right away. I pushed it twice, and that bulb's full. Let me see if I can get a finger down here, see if we've got any fuel leaks. I don't think so. I think that bottom piece might hold up. Let's see if it starts under choke. There we go. I would say that's a success. Let's throw our filter back on. All right, I just pulled it back apart because it didn't seem right to me as far as how it was kind of clamping together. I had this, so it kind of needs to go together. You're not going to be able to pull one piece off, then the other piece. This bolt here holds both the recoil and the top part off, and I had it, I had it over top, so it wasn't fully flush. You know, so we got it fixed, we got it switched. We're gonna zip this back up, like so. Get this last one here. Just make sure we're tight down here. We're meant. All right, guys. So now I think we are good to go. We're clamped up good. You know, that's mint OEM. Let's give it one more pull. See how it blows. That's a pretty low idle. It's a super low idle. Interesting. I wonder if we're just way out of gas. Let me add some gas. We'll try it again. Yeah, this is a 50-to-1 premix. I pretty much always use Stihl Ultra synthetic oil, just because I came across a deal for like, this guy was selling like 10 little cans of it. I think he actually gave it to us with a fire pit we bought and a blower that he was selling. So I've got oil for years as far as two-stroke goes for this stuff. But all right, let's see. We'll give it another prime or two. Let's see what it does. Oh. That's funny. I think what we're missing here is, I don't know if that'll fit. I don't know. Here we go. That'll definitely fit. All right. We might just bump up that idle screw a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. Turn it up a quarter turn. Alright guys, I think we might have figured it out. So we adjusted our idle screw and then we really started adjusting our air fuel, you know, those idle and run screws there, and I think we got it perfect. So let's give it one more pull. There we go. Say that's a success. Awesome, guys. There's the product sticker for it. All right, guys, I think that does it for this one. Again, this is that bg55, you know, Stihl blower. It's a handheld blower. You know, those small carbs are going to be, you know, just about the same. So hopefully this gives you enough confidence and info to possibly dive in on the blower that's not wanting to start in your garage. Get it situated and get it ready for the upcoming season, because Lord knows that we're going to be having some fun here in the fall. But yeah, again, I appreciate you watching. This is Mystery Motors. If you like this, like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.